Okay, sorry about that. Little technical difficulties here. My apologies. So this live session is Ask the Car Seat Lady of Central California your car seat questions. There are a lot of car seat ladies in Central California, so we just had to come up with a quirky title to have families and caregivers come on here. So this is an opportunity really for you to be able to reach out, ask some of your car seat questions. You know, what questions do you have? What questions do you have about seats? What questions do you have about proper installation? And, you know, my apologies. I had hoped to do this on the laptop, but apparently it doesn't want to cooperate. So we're going to use a cell phone to do this, to be able to answer your questions. So I'm going to kind of start out with one of the most common questions that I get. Well, first of all, let me introduce myself. So my name is Kristina Pasma. I am a registered nurse. I work for Valley Children's Hospital in the trauma department, and I am also the Safe Kids coordinator for Safe Kids Central California. We cover Fresno, Madera, and Tulare counties in Central California, so quite a big area. We are a partnership of about 40 agencies that are really super passionate about keeping children in our communities safe from unintentional injuries, or what most people call as accidents. We want to keep our kiddos safe, because one kiddo hurt, one kiddo that dies is one too many. I'm also a car seat technician instructor, so I train new car seat techs on how to do this, as well as I'm a mom of 3 kids. So, you know, I will tell you that on the last session that I did earlier, you know, car seats are not that easy. They're not that complicated. You know, my oldest son is 14 years old, and really for the first 7 years of his life, I didn't touch a seat. Like maybe just to put it into the base, but not installation or anything like that. I really left all of that up to my husband, and that was because of my own insecurity. I wasn't sure that I was going to do it right, and you know, I didn't want to be responsible if something happened. So about 7 years ago, I actually had the opportunity to attend a car seat technician class, and I loved it. I loved everything about it, and I realized that it wasn't as hard as what I thought. And I worked with some really amazing technicians through a variety of different agencies that are really super passionate about keeping kiddos safe. And I've just, over the years, my love for this has just grown and grown and grown. And this is Child Passenger Safety Week. So this is the week that we recognize the importance of keeping our children safe in car seats. So one of the most common questions that I get as a car seat technician is, what is the safest car seat, or what's the best car seat? So as technicians, we don't endorse one brand over the other. What I can tell you are a couple little tricks and things to be thinking about. So number one, you want to look at the seat and see, you know, is it easy for you to use? Sometimes a bunch of bells and whistles don't necessarily mean that it's going to be easy. The other thing that you want to look at too is, what kind of vehicle are you putting it in? You know, if you have a really small vehicle with a really narrow or small back seat, you may not want a big, ginormous car seat to be in there. Other things to think about are, who else is riding in the car? Do you have other children? If you have other kids, you need to take into consideration that when you're purchasing a seat, who's all going to sit there and what seating positions that you have. And then truly take a look at your budget. You know, more expensive does not mean safer. All of the car seats that are sold in a brick and mortar store here in the United States must all pass the same basic standards. So truly, more expensive does not mean safer. It might mean like a little bit of extra bells and whistles. So kind of like the same thing when you're looking at a car. You know, you have some basic versions of a vehicle, and then you really have the high-end version of a vehicle. The same vehicle is going to get you from point A to point B. It really just depends on the bells and whistles that you want to have along with it. Same thing with car seats. You know, the least expensive up to the most expensive, they have to pass the same basic standards. So it's really, what are you looking for as a family? Some things that I kind of advise parents on: look at the longevity of the seat. So look at the weight limits on it. Are you looking for a seat that, are you going to, first of all, are you planning on having more children? Because if the seat's not been you or not been in an accident and it's within the time frame of it's not expired, you could potentially use it for other children, especially if you know the history of it. The other thing to think about is what's the weight limit on it. So, all seats on the side of them should have a weight limit and a weight standard on there. So in terms of the harness, really you're looking for one with a harness that you can use for a long period of time. Our kids are going to be in seats for a while. Here in California, they have to be in a car seat until age 8 or 4'9" tall. And truly, we recommend that 4'9" tall. At 8, the vast majority of kids are not big enough for a seatbelt to fit them properly. And we want to make sure that seatbelt is fitting them adequately, that it's not riding up on their stomach. And so you really want to get a seat that has some longevity to it. A lot of car seat manufacturers now are kind of coming up with these, what they call an all-in-one seat. So you can pretty much use it from birth up until they are ready to transition into a booster seat. Some of them have an 8-year expiration date. Some have a 10-year expiration. Some are, I believe are even longer than that. So it's really super cool when you're looking, and as far as affordability goes, take that into consideration. If you're getting a seat that has, a 40-pound weight limit, that's a convertible seat, your baby's going to outgrow that by 40 pounds. They're still going to need a harness for quite a while. Then you're buying another seat. That becomes, it can become potentially pretty expensive. So that's probably one of the most common questions that I'm asked by parents. One of the second common questions that people will ask is, where's the safest place in the vehicle to place my baby? So the safest place in the vehicle, if you have one kid, it gets a little trickier when you have more than one, is that center middle position in the rear seat. So really, truly, the back seat is the safest for our little ones. If we can avoid having our kiddos sit in the front seat, that's awesome, because there's most of our crashes are frontal impact crashes. So if we can give a little bit of distance between that front bumper, our engine, our dashboard, and even the seats to protect our kids as they're growing, that's even better. It gets a little tricky though when you have more than one kid, because you can't exactly stack them up. They don't make like bunk beds or bunk car seats, so you have to split them up. At that point, you have a decision to make. Some families will move their children to each outboard position. Some, depending on the size of the car seat and its width, you may have one car seat in the middle and one in the outboard position. If you're going to choose an outboard position, you really want the one on the passenger side of the vehicle. And that makes sense, right? Because as we're loading these kiddos up in the vehicle, we want to be on the curbside. We want to be standing on the sidewalk. We don't want to be standing out in traffic, because I think every parent has had that situation where the kid has the complete meltdown. They go totally stiff and you're trying to put them into a seat. And you definitely don't want to be doing that when you are right there next to traffic and trying to wrestle them. So that's just one helpful hint. The other thing let's talk about is airbags. So you want to kind of take into consideration, where are the airbags in your vehicle? So most of your newer vehicles will have them in their dashboard. You'll actually see signs up where your visors are advising you of that. Some have it in the middle section of the vehicle. There may be side airbags or even curtain airbags. So the place where you're going to be able to find them, you might see symbols for it, but you can also always go to your vehicle owner's manual, because that's going to be able to give you the best source of truth. Speaking of owner's manuals, you want to keep the one that comes with your car seat. Put it in a safe place. If you happen to have misplaced it, all of your car seat manufacturers have them online. You can download them, and they are a wealth of information. They're going to tell you all the tips and tricks that go with their seat. And some of them, because they have technicians that work for their company, they actually really spell out how to install it too, to make it really easier for parents. So, save that manual, put it in a safe place. If you have a brand new car seat, you want to make sure that you fill out that recall card, that you send it in. That way, if there is ever a recall on your car seat, the manufacturer can notify you of that. So that's really super important. If you don't have that, most of the manufacturers, you can register it through their website. The other question people ask me is kind of going back to what I mentioned before about expiration dates. So a standard expiration date for most car seats is 6 years. So on your car seat, there should be a label. It either is going to tell you like a born on date, or it's going to tell you an expiration date. After that expiration date, that manufacturer is saying that they do not want you to use that seat. Even if it has not been in an accident, there is microscopic damage that can happen to these seats, over time with the heat. Especially our cars get really super hot. It wears down that plastic, and that manufacturer cannot guarantee that that seat will work beyond that date. So you definitely want to discard it after that point in time. Another common question that parents will ask is, so what happens, if there's an accident? So I'm going to give you 2 places to go. One is your car seat manual. That's why I want to keep it. They're going to tell you what they want you to do if there's an accident. Many of them are going to say replace it. NHTSA, which is the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration, has some criteria in which they say that a seat may be deemed safe to be able to use. So you can easily go to their website. It's going to break down all of those criteria. But most of your car seat manufacturers are going to want you to replace the seat. Again, look at that criteria. Sometimes if the kid's not in there, if it's, a very minor accident, meaning that maybe you're in a parking lot, someone backs into your vehicle, you may not necessarily need to replace that seat. But you want to refer to that NHTSA criteria for your specific case. And in terms of insurance, most insurances will reimburse you. They will either replace that seat for you, or they will have you purchase it. And then you save your receipt and they will reimburse you for that. So, that's in replacement of car seats in terms of, if there's an accident. Let's see here. Trying to think of other common questions that people ask. So the one about the, what's the best car seat kind of comes into play. So the other thing too is just kind of tricks and tips, things that I did not know. So I thought as a mom, this is not as a car seat tech, that you had to start your baby out in a rear facing only seat, or some people call that an infant carrier, the one with the handle. It turns out that you don't have to start your baby out in that. There are many convertible seats. These are the seats that go backwards and they go forwards that actually allow you to start them at birth. You're going to want to look at the individual seats to see, and maybe if finances are really super tight for you, that might be an option, because that's going to be a seat that you'll be able to use for a really long time versus the infant carrier or the rear facing only carrier that does have a weight limit on it, and that the baby's eventually going to outgrow based on their size or their weight. So those seats as well do have the convenience of leaving the base in the vehicle, which is kind of nice when you're out shopping. However, like I said, that convertible seat is also really super nice because you can use it for a really long period of time. So, yes, Mary. So Mary posed a comment on here, and she's actually a car seat technician out of Kings County, out of the public health department there. And she said one question that she gets a lot is parents wanting to know if it's okay to install a car seat using latch, which are those like the hooks that they have on them, or the seat belt. So car seats right now in the United States are crash tested for you to use one or the other. There are some manufacturers right now that are doing testing with both. But as parents, unless your manual says otherwise, that's again another reason why you want to save that manual. You'll probably hear me say that about 10 times. That manual is, like I said, a wealth of information. Unless that car seat manufacturer says otherwise, you have to pick either the lower anchors or the seat belt. So the lower anchors, one thing that you want to keep in mind is there are weight limits for them. You're going to look out to your, not only your car seat manual, but also your vehicle manual. And all of those are online as well. If you don't happen to have that, a lot of them, a good rule of thumb is about 65 pounds. After 65 pounds, you really want to be using the seatbelt. And a seatbelt is equally safe, even from the very beginning. If you figure it can hold, an adult person in a vehicle, it's certainly going to be able to hold a car seat in a vehicle. So another common question is, where do we go for help? So you can go and Google car seat technicians. You can send us a PM. And we are happy to help connect you with a technician that is in your area. I do want to preface this with, we are in really challenging times. Normally this week, I would not be doing this virtually. I would actually be out in the community. We do a whole lot of car seats this week for Child Passenger Safety Week. But because of COVID, we have to get creative. And because of that, many of our technicians and many of our agencies that would normally be doing seats are not doing them in person right now. They may be doing virtual seats, or they may have suspended that because they are doing other things in terms of helping the community with COVID. So we ask that parents be really super patient with us. Trust me, we would love to be out there. Those of us that do this work, we love it. We love being out there. We love being with you. We love being in person. We would rather not do it over Zoom or WebEx or many of those things. We would rather be right there with you and with your precious children. But we want to ensure that you and your family are safe, and that our technicians are safe as well. And I promise you that as soon as we are given the green light and things are in much better shape COVID-wise, we will be back out in the community blasting those seats out. So, please be patient with us as that's happening. A couple resources that you can use in the meantime. So AAA is offering a virtual service. You go on their website. You do not have to be a AAA member. You can schedule an appointment with a technician on their website. And also our friends at Stanford Children's have offered their services up for families in our area. So you can schedule a car seat appointment by emailing them. You'll email carseats@stanfordchildrens with an s.org. So that's carseats@stanfordchildrens with an s. And you can schedule a virtual car seat appointment with them as well. And hopefully very soon Valley Children's will be doing virtual appointments and getting back in the community. So Eliana just asked a question. So how long can kids go rear facing? So that's an excellent question. We really recommend that you keep them rear facing as long as possible. So many parents are under the misconception that once their baby turns 1 or their legs are touching the back of the vehicle seat, that it's time to turn them forward facing. In California, our law is 2 years or 40 pounds or 40 inches tall. So we really recommend that you go beyond that 2 years. If your baby is less than 40 pounds, please keep them rear facing. It is much, much safer for them. They will learn to sit Indian style or frog-legged so that their legs are protected. But what we are trying to protect are those things that are very difficult to fix. And let me explain that a little bit. So children, their head is very large in proportion to the rest of their body. Their neck muscles are very weak. That's why when they're first born, their head is bobbling all over the place. Even at the age of 1 and the age of 2, even though they have, neck control and head control, their neck muscles are very, very weak in comparison to what our neck muscles are. So when they're rear facing, that seat, in the event of an impact, the seat is taking the brunt of the impact. And basically what happens is the baby kind of reclines backwards and then goes forwards so that it's really cradling their head, their neck, and their spinal cord. Because if you've ever had whiplash, it's super difficult. You're never the same. So imagine being really a teeny tiny baby and having an injury like that to your neck. That is something that you may never recover from. And in fact, in some cases, some of these children don't survive those accidents. And I can tell you from firsthand experience as a registered nurse, I have seen those cases, personally have seen those cases. So please, 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 if you learn nothing else today, please keep your babies rear facing as long as possible. So Eliana had another question about best brand for car seats. Really, there is no preferred brand. We as technicians, we do kind of have our favorites, but not the car seat manufacturers. I don't work for any of them, and what I can tell you is that they are all equally safe. So if they are sold in the United States at a brick and mortar store, they all have to pass the same standards. More expensive does not mean safer. I want to just put one disclaimer in there. I said brick and mortar store. So many of our stores now are starting to sell things online, and they are getting product from places outside of the United States. Other countries do not have the same car seat standards as we have here. So I would strongly encourage you to do a little bit of research. Look at, if you're looking at a brand before you buy it, especially if you're looking to buy it online, see if it is one that's actually sold at stores here in the United States. I mean, you can find some really good deals online. I found some myself. But you definitely want to make sure that it is one that passes the United States standards. We've come across some different things recently that would in no way pass the U.S. standards. So you definitely want to do a little bit of research. Look at your different brands. There's lots of brands out there, lots of different choices. Many of your stores will actually let you try them out in your car, where you can actually take it out to your car and place it in there and see if it's going to fit. That's always a great method, especially if you have more than one kiddo in your car. So in terms of the car seats, one thing I do want to mention, and one of the, I don't want to say it's a mistake, but we call it misuse that we see very often, is people adding things to the seat. So how that seat comes out of the box is how that manufacturer meant for you to use it. That is the way that they tested it. That's the way that they can guarantee that it is safe. So all those extra things that we could potentially add to it, toys and the little mats that you put underneath it, the mirrors, all of those things have not been crash tested with that seat. So that means that there is a risk that it could come off and it could injure your child. And I always, when I'm teaching classes out in the community, I always tell them the story of when my kids were little, we had this baby Einstein turtle, and it was this really hard plastic baby Einstein turtle, but it played classical music, and my kids loved it. It would calm them down when I was driving, which made it safer for me and safer for them. And now that I look back, I'm like, that totally could have come off and really injured them. So, just kind of keep that in mind. There are some car seat there's always an exception to everything, right? As we give you a rule, there's always somebody that has an exception. There is a couple manufacturers that have created some toys that you can use on their seats, and they've created mats that you could use with their seats. But again, before using it, you want to make sure that you are checking that owner's manual of your car seat to make sure that they allow for that. Some of those things that we put underneath them, they can actually cause that car seat to slide in an accident, and that causes more problems. So I hope this answers some of your most common questions. Please give us feedback. Let us know whether or not you like this. If you do, then maybe we'll do more of these in the future. I've got some amazing other friends within Safe Kids that cover a variety of health and safety topics. Maybe there's something that you just want to know more about. Let us know. We're happy to share that. If you have mommy groups and church groups or schools, daycares, Head Starts, we provide education. We're getting a little creative now, doing a little more virtually with those families. We want to make sure that we are keeping our community safe. And I just want to give a huge shout out to all of our child passenger safety technicians that are out there. This is our week. This is the week that we really get out there and keep our community safe. All of you are so amazing and so dedicated with the work that you do. As a mother and as a community member, I am so appreciative of what you do. And so many of you are first responders or that are helping us with the fires around us. So we we are sending our thoughts and prayers to you for your safety and for that of your families. And then many of our coalition members are also working with COVID. So, we just encourage you to be safe out there, wash your hands. Flu season starting to come, and RSV season for our little peanuts. So, this, it just keeps getting better and better, folks. So, if there are other topics, please let us know what you'd like to know. We have the experts. We'd love to be able to share with you. And this is also Railroad Safety Week, so maybe perhaps you'll see me tomorrow a little bit doing some stuff on that as well. So that's a really super important topic here, especially in our area, because we're on the naughty list for that too. So wishing you all a wonderful afternoon. Please stay safe out there. And, we are here to help support you and to guide you. And if you need us, please let us know. We are so happy to support you and your different agencies or even your children. And hopefully we'll see you soon. Looks like maybe we'll be turning a corner soon. So have a great afternoon and take care.